Up to now, every problem that we were asked to factor out the greatest common factor, the common factor was in the form of a monomial. In other words, the common factor could have been a 3 if we had something like 3x plus 6, right? We could factor out a 3. Or it could be something even with a variable, right? If I had 3x squared plus 6x, I could factor out 3x. However, a common factor doesn't have to have just one term. If you look at example 6, you see that x minus 2 is a factor of the first term because it's one of the numbers that we are multiplying, right? We're multiplying 10, that's one factor, by x, that's another factor, and by x minus 2, that's a third factor. And x minus 2 also happens to be a common factor, a factor in the second term. So x minus 2 is a common factor to both terms. So we can factor out x minus 2, and if I now divide 10x, x minus 2 by x minus 2, then x minus 2 cancels, leaving us a 10x. And for the second term, 3 times x minus 2, if I divide that by x minus 2, I'm just left with a 3. And so the answer is x minus 2 times 10x plus 3. Now, the way I have it written here is actually not quite correct, because even though I mean to multiply x minus 2 by 10x plus 3, if I don't put parentheses around x minus 2, when you look at this, only the 2 is multiplying the 10x plus 3. So I really should put x minus 2 in parentheses. That way I have the proper answer. And again, if you're confused about are these two expressions the same, it's not difficult to see that if you just distribute x minus 2 into the 10x and the 3, you will have 10x times x minus 2 plus 3 times x minus 2, right? Because you're multiplying x minus 2 by each term, so it's perfectly fine. Let's take a look at one more example of this. As we look at the expression, we see, well, 24 and 5 don't have any common terms. Here's a u, but I don't see a u, so that's not it. But 3v plus 4 is a factor that both terms have in common. Remember, we want to put it in parentheses. And then when we divide the first term by 3v plus 4, right, we're left with just 24u, because when we divide by 3v plus 4, the 3v plus 4 cancels, leaving us a 24u. And similarly, when I divide the second term by 3v plus 4, I'm just left with a 5, right? Because 3v plus 4 divided by 3v plus 4 leaves me with just a 5. And so there's my answer, 3v plus 4 times 24u plus 5. So this is how we factor out a common factor if it's more than one term. It doesn't really matter. We treat it the exact same way. The only thing is we want to be careful that we put parentheses around the binomial to make sure that the whole thing gets multiplied. So this is really all you need to know when it comes to factoring out the greatest common factor. In the next video, we're going to talk about another method of factoring called factoring by grouping.